Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. We started publishing this podcast in January of 2020, shortly before the pandemic hit. Ever since, week by week, we have talked about the many challenges our now 8 business owners have confronted. Some of those challenges have led us into difficult conversations. But this week, we have a celebration. As many of you will recall, when we started this podcast, Karen Clark Cole was coming off months of failed negotiations with a potential investor in Blink, the business she co-founded. Those months she spent focused on the investor took a toll on both Blink and on Karen, who subsequently took a mental health sabbatical. But, as Karen tells Jay Goltz and William Vanderbloemen, she came back, refocused, and has just sold Blink for $94 million in cash. As you might imagine, we had some questions for Karen, including, will she stay? How many employees knew what was going on? Was there a bidding war? Is there an earnout? What was it like to wake up one morning knowing that she had taken all of her financial risk off the table? And is she ready to report to a boss? Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which highlights the most important news of the day for business owners and which you can subscribe to at 21hats.com, where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. And please stick around at the end of the podcast for Steve Kroll's Marketing Minute. Joining me this week on the podcast are regulars Karen Clark Cole, who is CEO of Blink, a user experience research and design firm in Seattle. Jay Goltz, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, Artist Frame Service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. And William Vanderbloemen, who is CEO of Vanderbloemen Search Group, a recruiting firm based in Houston that works with churches and other faith-based organizations. The episode is titled, Holy Crap, This Is All My Dreams Come True. Welcome, Karen, Jay, and William. It's great to have you all here. Let's start with the obvious. Karen, congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you thrilled?
Yes, I am, for a lot of reasons.
Give us one.
No, give us 4.
Well, one, I'm happy to be through the process. It was absolutely grueling and has gone on really since the beginning of the year. So it's been a long, grueling 8 months, 9 months, and the last 3 have been super grueling. And then the last month, one level above that, like wildly grueling. I don't know. So,
well, we're going to want to hear more about that.
Yeah, I feel like I need a year-long vacation, but that's not going to happen because for the second reason, we have a big job in front of us. We have an unbelievably great partnership with the company who acquired us. So the sky's the limit. I'm super excited. It's the best of all worlds in my mind. I'm excited.
Hey, Karen, I'm curious. I've talked to people who've had similar outcomes that you've had, and they've all said to me, man, if I had it to do over, here are 3 or 4 things I would have done 5 years ago so the process wouldn't have been as grueling. So do you have any just top of mind things?
Yeah.
That'd take a lot of time. And if we'd have done that 5 years ago or...
Yeah, it's a good question, William. So 3 and a bit years ago, we had decided to take on investment money so that we could grow the company. And at that point, we were looking at selling 1/3 of the shares to get investment money. And that process was long and complicated. And then in the end, we pulled out. We just couldn't get to agreement. And it was that was so stressful that I had to take a leave of absence. And so what that did, though, is it got us ready for this time. So for this time, it was grueling in that it was just intense due diligence. Like it was public company, KPMG, law firm, bank consulting. We were being grilled at all angles in all ways. And even by our investment bankers standard, just the highest level of due diligence that there is. And so, but we stood up to it. We did great. We came out with flying colors. So I'm really, really proud of our little company, for surviving all that and then coming up, no problem, everything, all systems a go. So it was not, so we really were prepared. And that's because we had that, false start 3 years ago. But more importantly, we got the valuation that we wanted. In fact, we got more than we had ever thought we would ever get because the company was organized for our profit, for our EBITDA, for our revenue, for our gross margins. We've been tracking that really closely for the last 2 years, just to make sure that there was nothing that could bring us down when it came to evaluating the company. And so we really were in great shape. And also there's been many other companies that have come to us over the course of 21 years trying to buy us. And so we knew what the important trigger things were, and such as making sure the EBITDA matches, and then we have our net, and then the top line, middle line, all those lines all have to be going in the right direction. Plus we have to have, be in a hot market. We've got to have great retention. We got to have, all these things that we know really matter. We absolutely had in place. So it was perfect timing for us for all of that.
Well, you also, correct me if I'm wrong, are going to save literally millions of dollars in taxes by doing it this year than waiting until next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's unclear if it's really going to change, but even so, and in Washington we have other things coming. So that didn't get us started this year, but it made us want to finish this year for sure.
For sure.
Are you sticking around?
Yeah. I love my job. It's never been a retirement strategy for me. It's just how can we grow, take over the world, and not have the risk? Because up until, 2 weeks ago, Kelly, my co-founder, and I were absolutely solely responsible for the health and the financial all the financial risk of the company. Our houses were still connected to the line of credit, to our leases, to everything. So we're the guarantors for everything in the company, personally. And so, taking big risks to grow and really go global, which is what we want to do. It was just too much at the scale that we were going to head to. And so now we have a partner in crime that has so many great, just great things that we can benefit from, and lots of really smart people with global experience, and we're on a global stage overnight. And then I'm not the only one figuring out the vision, figuring out how to get there, working on the strategy. I've got people to help me do that now, which I'm totally ready for, is to have some mentoring and some support and some colleagues to help drive the company forward. So yeah, we're a wholly owned subsidiary. So our company's going to operate pretty much exactly the same as it has been. Even our tax ID is the same, our bank account's the same, all of our employment agreements are the same. And I'm still the CEO. Everyone has their same titles, roles, and responsibilities. I have a new boss, which honestly, it's fun. I mean, he's really great, smart.
I'm going to write that phrase down. I have a new boss and it's fun. I'm going to write that down.
It is.
I got it. I'm going to write that down. In a year from today, I'm going to call you. Maybe we'll have it on the podcast, and I'm just going to go, so is it still fun? That's all.
Yeah, but I like things that are complicated and hard. So this is good. I'm ready for a new challenge.
You were bought by an Indian company called Emphasis. Is your boss in India?
No, he's based out of New York. So the leadership, we're actually owned by Emphasis US Corporation. So they have a couple of different corporations in the company. And so we're owned by the US part of the company. All of the leadership are based in New York, in Manhattan, actually. So we inherited a beautiful office in Midtown. So I'm pretty excited about that, too.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in your case versus my case, you need to grow it because you're in a hot, growing, technologically driven business that you can't afford to go, oh, I'm just going to sit back and just coast a little bit. I assume that that's part of that, I get it, I think, right? You need to stay out there or you'll get smothered by somebody else.
Jay, you're totally right. We will be, they will pass us by and step on us as they're going by.
Karen, it's interesting to think back when we started this podcast at the beginning of 2020, as you referred to a moment ago, you had come through this period where you had been trying to bring on an investor. And I think you told us that you went through a period of time where every week you thought the deal might close and it didn't, and it was so stressful. You took the sabbatical that you referred to. You came back. At that point, when you came back, did you know that you were going to shift strategies and try to sell them?
No, we committed at that point just to focus, which we did, focus back internally on the company, get everything back in order, because my eye was off the ball during all of that. And so, which was another lesson from that, is to make sure that, day job is most important in all of this, all of the due diligence and the hundreds and hundreds of meetings that I've had. And so, no, we focused on our organic growth internally, on getting our systems in order, on getting all those things that I talked about that we know are necessary just to have a healthy company. Brought in a new COO, and he really helped with making sure that we had a close eye on our utilization and that we were, running the company in a really ship-shape kind of way, just so that we would, not have any ill effects from that sort of tumultuous 8 months that we had before. And then, a big part of deciding to do this was our clients are really asking, and our employees as well, to be able to build the products that we design. So I use the metaphor architects and construction business of we're really the architects. So we're working on the strategy. What should the building be? What kind of building? Is it a house, a warehouse, and then we take it all the way through to design, measuring the last, stud and the last nail and the size of the windows, all that stuff. But then somebody else builds it. And so our clients want us to be able to actually launch the products that we design, and our employees want to be able to see their stuff go live as well and have some sort of involvement, control, be able to help it. And so we just couldn't do that. And building an engineering practice is really risky because it's totally different than our design work. And so we've been toying with ways to do that, for the last 15 years, seriously, in the last 5, really trying to figure out how can we do it. And so at the beginning of this year, we started looking seriously at ways to be able to do that. Like, should we take on investment money again to try to hire somebody to come and build this practice internally, like somebody really high level who knows what they're doing? And then building a practice ahead of the work is a big investment because we just bill by the hour. And so we generally don't hire until we can see the work, at least in the pipeline.
So when you close on a particular day, and that day money shows up in your account and all of your liabilities go away, I just want to know what goes through somebody's head when they go to bed, they wake up the next morning and they realize they've got $1 zillion sitting in an account somewhere and they're completely set. Can you just give us that emotional, when you open your eyes in the morning, what you thought about?
Yeah. God, I don't know. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, and for me, Jay, it wouldn't be awesome. Like, I'm not interested in going and retiring. I'm not interested in leaving the company. And so for me to have all of what you described, and now I get to go fast. I mean, I love to go fast and I love to go big, and I've got big ideas. That morning I had to get up really early because I had 5 meetings, all to do with what are we doing now. And so I haven't had, honestly, I haven't had a lot of sleep in a long time, and it's not coming anytime soon. I've been, because now we've got the New York time and we've got some folks in India. Some folks on the leadership team are in India. So our calls are late and they're early, and then they're everything in between. So it's been kind of nonstop, but I'm on fire. This is what I love. I love to be busy. I love to be doing big, exciting things. So I just feel, it's less of a kind of relief feeling, and it's more like, holy crap. Like, this is like all my dreams come true, like all of them at once. And it's just this my veins are tingling. It's like that.
That's a good that's a good answer. So did you buy some new shoes?
I bought a new purse.
Okay, there you go.
It's really nice.
Okay, and then I also just want to know, the day you made the announcement to the employees, what was that?
Yeah,
you think everyone knew?
No, there were a couple of dozen people. So Blink has 28 shareholders, and had 28 shareholders. And so that means that the money that the company received, and there's a big earnout portion. So the money that we received up front gets split pro rata across those 28 shareholders. So it was not all to me, or Kelly. So we're majority shareholders, but then we have, 26 other folks who participated in this sale. And so they all had to agree to all this. They had to review and sign 6 different documents times 28 people over the course of 3 days. It was really intense. And we were docu-signing, documents flying back and forth. My CFO, he was an absolute rock star because we had to route them one at a time through all these people. And so meanwhile, I'm communicating with all the shareholders to have everybody on standby. These documents are coming, and they had to be last minute because we were literally negotiating up until half an hour before we had the closing call. Like at one point, before it was going all through the lawyers and then the investment bankers and then to us and then the reverse. That was sort of the pattern, with 100 calls in between with various different due diligence folks, different work streams. But then at the end, it was just me on the phone, like all weekend, early in the morning, late at night, 7 days a week, negotiating directly with the emphasis with their head of legal and business. And then in the end, in the sort of final hours, it was, by text. While he was on the call with somebody else, something just came up, texting me because he can't call me because he's on the phone. And it was like that. And then we had the closing call, which was a Zoom call with all the bankers, all the lawyers, all the business owners. There were 30 of us on the call. Everyone just sort of went around their boxes saying like, check, 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 just like a flight taking off. And after months and months of this, and I got goosebumps just thinking about that moment. And everybody went around, and I was just waiting for one more thing, because it was like that, like one more text, one more item that we have to clear. And everyone went around, check, check, check. And then the head lawyer on their side said, all right, we're good. I'm going to initiate the funds transfer. And at that moment, I just started shaking. I'm like, this is it. Like we, because everything was already signed. And I was like, oh my God.
I assume it was incredibly rewarding to see these 28 people get a bigger check than they probably ever had in their life.
Jay, that is the thing I am most proud of, is that, not only did, Kelly and I make this up and, do well for ourselves, but wow, we brought a lot of people with us, and I'm so proud of that. Just the ability to be able to do that this is life-changing.
Are most of those 28 people still employees?
Oh yeah, everybody is. Yeah, we haven't lost anybody yet. Hopefully we won't. We're working really hard. So to answer your question, Jay, so then we had to, because they're a public company, the timing was really tricky. So we did our official signing. And so everything was DocuSign, but we still printed out the forms. The CEO came to Seattle. The head attorney, who was our main business guy, came to Seattle, and a couple of others. So we all got in a room and we signed the documents. And then at that moment, we considered it closed. And so then they have to make an announcement to the stock exchange in India. And then I made an announcement. We had an all hands company meeting, and we got everyone to come. I made an announcement there. So most people didn't know. And then I followed it up immediately with a letter to the employees with all the details, because I knew the announcement would be shocking for most people. And so then they had time to read that letter. It had a lot of information in it. And then we had a group practice meeting. So we have sort of 5 main practice areas in the company, and the heads of those practice areas had, group meetings with all those folks to answer questions that were right away. For 2 weeks now, we've been doing, I guess it's only a week and a half, my God. We've been having a lot of one-on-one meetings with everybody. So we're covering everybody in the company. We have daily Q&A sessions with me and Kelly at lunchtime. So all kinds of vehicles. And then in the staff meeting, I'm talking through questions again. So we just want to make sure that everyone hears and sees it, in every way, shape, and form, that we are the same company, essentially, with this just kind of turbo boost infusion into the company of not just, the cash isn't coming into the company, so it's not even that. We just get this boost of, we're just global, and everybody wants to have a big impact in the company. That's why we're here. And so, I think a lot of people can see that this is going to allow us to have a bigger impact. So what we need to prove in the day-to-day is that the things they love about Blank are the same. Like our cultural framework is the same. I'm still there. I still care about everybody. We all have, nobody's employment agreements even changed. Like we're still the same legal entity. So and I've had a lot of calls with clients to help them understand that it's the same, but better, so it's been exhausting.
You earned that purse. You did.
Thank you, Jay.
How did you manage to keep the secret? You said that it was shocking for most employees.
I think COVID helped us, because everybody's still pretty much remote.
Good point.
And so, and then, my calendar, we had to be really careful about making things private for sure. But, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but we did. It's just we're careful, and COVID helped for sure.
That is funny that COVID happens and someone's going to come back to their office somewhere in this country and find out the office has been gone for 6 months and now it's a restaurant. It is kind of a funny concept.
Yeah.
Karen, I think you said something about the upfront payment. Is there an earnout aspect to this deal?
Yeah, so we got 70% cash up front, which is great and high and totally amazing. We could hardly believe it. And then the 30% is earn out over a 2-year period. So half of it after the first year and half of it after the second year. And those are dependent on us hitting our revenue and our gross margin targets, which are our targets. So it's using our model, and we just have to stand behind our own model. And so this is not even taking in all of the additional revenue that's going to come from us just being a combined entity. Like already all of their customers, not all of them, but a lot of their clients are like, hey, when can we get some of that design work? Like, hey, we want to meet these guys. And it's working on both sides. So there's going to be a lot of additional uptick and growth from that. But our targets, we have to sort of preserve the core and make sure we're growing in our own way as the highest priority, because they just paid a lot of money for what we do, and they don't want to get in the way, and they want us to keep doing what we're doing because that's what they love.
So, Karen, how much of your brain for next 100 days, say, is focused on current client retention versus let's grow?
Yeah. It's probably half and half. I mean, we have a lot of great people in place in the company who are really more tightly connected to the clients than I am. So with all of our current work, I'm not in the current project work. And so our teams are really, they're the care and love and feeding of our clients. And it's really, at the end of the day, as long as we keep producing great work, there's kind of no question. So we just have to focus on producing great work and just being focused on what we do best.
Yeah, I think given what you do, if I was a customer, I would buy the story that you've got better resources versus every time my bank gets sold and they try selling me their bill of goods. Yeah, right. It's always goes downhill. But in your case, I would think that is an advantage that you joined a bigger group that's got more resources. So I don't think you're going to have any big retention problem.
We actually just got one client we were working on landing, and once they found this out, they were like, "Oh, that's actually good. Now we know that you're big, you're strong, you're not going away." And that to me is the most exciting thing. Like now I can say with 100% certainty that we are a generational company, and our grandkids can work at blank. And that for me is like, wow, I can go to the grave knowing that. It's pretty awesome.
I want to ask you about that, but first, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Work Better Now. I'm here with Rob Levin, co-founder of Work Better Now, which provides businesses with highly talented virtual assistants. Rob, I've noticed that owners tend to have certain questions about virtual assistants. For example, what exactly can they do?
Yeah, Lauren, we get this question all the time because people really know deep down that they need an assistant, but they're not exactly sure how it works and what they can do for them. I would say that our clients use our assistants in one of two ways. They will either use them, much like I've been using my assistant for the past 8 years, as an executive assistant, handling my calendar, which takes up so much time, email management, database, file management, personal tasks, creating documents for me. And then a lot of our clients basically operationalize our assistants. So we have assistants with titles like project manager, marketing associate, operations manager, and customer service representative.
I think some owners worry they'll spend more time managing their assistant than it would have taken them just to do the tasks themselves. How do you respond to that?
Right. This is a deadly trap, not only with assistants, but really with any employees, which is, I can do it faster myself. And the reality is you might be able to do it faster yourself. Of course, it's impossible to grow your business if you're doing everything yourself. I was very much of a similar mindset. And what I did with my assistant is I basically told him what needs to be done and had them document it. I hate documenting tasks, but I know that processes are so important. Now we have a manual full of my tasks. I only had to tell him once that he can follow time and time again. And if he's out, somebody else can follow. And also think about it this way. If you're a business owner making something like, let's say, $200,000 a year, which is about $100 an hour, you're basically paying somebody to do administrative work at $100 an hour if you're doing these tasks yourself.
That makes a lot of sense. What does it cost?
The cost is $1,900 a month. And as you know, Lauren, we are offering 21 Hats readers and listeners $150 off per month for 3 months just by mentioning the word Lauren. There are no contracts. That's also very important for people to know.
Can you promise a return on that investment?
If you're not getting a return, something's not going right. all of our clients are not only getting a return with the first assistant they've hired, but many of our clients are now on their second, third, and fourth assistant.
Where can we learn more?
Workbetternow.com. And again, when you sign up for a 15-minute consult, just mention the word Lauren, and we'll make sure to give that $150 off for each of the first 3 months.
Thanks, Rob. We're back.
So of all of your employees, was there anybody from top to bottom that was concerned about, tell us about the one person that was the most concerned. I'd just be curious as to, did you get any out of left field, like, oh, am I still going to be able to park in my same spot? I mean, whatever.
Loads of those kind of questions. Yep. Loads, for sure. And, like I said, I sent out that document right after the announcement, which had a huge Q&A section that we tried to preemptively answer a lot of those kind of questions. But they still come up, and, if somebody didn't see that one, or they didn't hear this conversation or that conversation, or, luckily I have really good rapport with most of our employees. Some of them are new and I don't know them as well, but for them, they have to trust, and it's a leap of faith. And so if they feel like they trust me and I'm being authentic right now in terms of how I'm describing why we did this and why now, and what the future looks like, I really have to call in all my trust tokens, because now's when I really need it. So that's largely what we're asking people to do, is just trust us, give us a chance, and give us feedback of what you're seeing that you like or don't like, or so we're just listening, a lot of listening.
The 28 people, how did they get, I assume they didn't get handed a check, it just showed up in their bank account. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, it got direct deposited. Yeah.
The next day, anyone coming to your office in tears saying, I just want you to know that I'm going to be able to buy a house for the first time, or I'm able to pay off my student loans, or did you have any anecdotal things like that?
Not then, but what I did to let people know, I had to let the shareholders in to under the tent about 3 weeks prior to closing. And so what I did is I had a one-on-one meeting, and it was over Zoom, which was kind of great, because you get, there's some up close and personalness that you get in Zoom that you don't get in real life. So the conversations were really, really personal, which was, I just thought, like, who could ever imagine that a Zoom meeting could be more personal than an in-person meeting? It's crazy, but it's really true. And so I had a one-on-one, like hour-long call with every single shareholder, and I told every single person myself, and I talked them through it, and I answered their questions, and, at that time, they were all like that. Like, everybody had something. They're like, oh my God, I can have a wedding. Like, oh my God, I can buy a house. Like,
oh my God, I can get divorced.
Buy a car.
I can get divorced. Yeah.
No, I didn't have any of that, luckily. But at that moment, there were some tears for sure, and it was really, it was moving. It made me really proud.
Was the meeting where you told the rest of the employees over Zoom or in person?
Yeah. It was in Zoom, because everybody's remote, and we have 5 offices, so people are spread around the country. And then, we were actually, Kelly and I were going to go on a tour and go visit all the offices and meet people in person. But we actually got pushback from our shareholders saying they thought that would be more stressful, because people are not really comfortable coming into the office all the time yet. And if they would feel obligated if we were there, and they just thought being available on Zoom would be better. So we created all kinds of different venues, like a company-wide forum where people could drop in if they wanted. And then we're making sure that we're still scheduling a lot of check-ins with people. So I was totally ready to jump on a plane and fly around, but most people thought we shouldn't.
Karen, I think you told us that when you were trying to land an investor to back Blink, the idea was that you wanted to go out and buy other similar companies to yours and kind of roll them up. Is that the plan now that you have emphasis as a backer?
Yeah, it's not the plan. The plan is just to grow organically, and then to add engineering to our clients to grow those accounts. So it's more of an account growth strategy for our clients as well as their clients, so that we can be full service and really focus on expanding the clients that we already have. We really committed to doing all of and it's not even integration. We're not integrating anything, and we're not touching anything in the first 6 months. There's going to be very little systems integration, if at all, after that. But we're working very collaboratively with Emphasis and us to decide, what would be good for Blink. Where can we, would it be better if we if we use their accounting system, for example, like different ways to make us more efficient, but nothing is being handed down. And we're just working collaboratively on how to go to market together, on how to talk to our, clients as a team together, when to do it, when not to do it. But down the road, if it makes sense to do an acquisition, we can, and it is possible for sure. But it's not. We're not even thinking about that yet.
Karen, I'm wondering, thinking of our listeners, like say there's somebody that might be 5 years away. What are 3 or 4 quick pointers to say, hey, do this now so you won't have a headache later?
Make sure that you have a real accountant or CFO. Like, we had a CFO on board much earlier than companies our size would have, and that has made all the difference. So our accounting, we are absolutely by the book for everything, all accounting practices. And so, there was no retrofitting of how we record any of our revenue, how we record any of our expenses. All of that kind of stuff was absolutely by accounting practices. So
what you just said is very important and smart. They call it recasting, where they go back and they say, oh, well, let's take that out and put. So that's a very, very important, smart point you just made, because you hired an accountant, a CFO who was used to doing stuff in the public arena, which is extremely different than being in the private market.
Yeah, like we've been operating like essentially like any kind of public company for a long time. That has made it, that made a huge difference. The other thing is just being careful with spending, I think, just having an eye on what's coming in and what's going out, and really understanding what makes our business successful. Like for us, the main levers are utilization. So meaning we need everybody billing to clients. And so we can't hire ahead of the curve. We can't have people on the bench in between projects. That's really expensive for us. So just having a really clear understanding of what the levers are. And for us, it's pretty straightforward. And then mostly, focusing on really, it sounds squishy, but having a clearly defined great culture. I mean, this is something I talk about a lot. We treat our culture like a business. We have, a framework. We have ways to measure it, to manage towards it, to hire, to fire. All of those things make it so that, when we have an event like this, our employees they are all in, and they really, we have a really trusting relationship with them. Everybody is, they're just really invested in the company. And so that really helps when we have to, give them some news, and we couldn't tell them ahead of time, because I'm normally really transparent in how we're running the company. And, we do monthly profit sharing, and I run through all of the numbers. I talk about what are the levers that allow us to be more profitable. How can they help? So I'm really open about what we're doing in the company, but for this, I couldn't be. And so, they have to trust me that I just couldn't. And they have so far.
So to the opposite of what William's saying, because I agree, people are out there thinking, oh, what should I be doing? I would also like to say, if I was 20 years younger, I'd be thinking, oh my God, I got to do something like that. And no, I don't. Like, this was a great thing for you. It makes perfect sense. Everything you said makes perfect sense, but has absolutely no application to I'm in an opposite situation. I'm not in a growing industry. I don't need to grow it like that. So anyone who's hearing this should think about, does this apply to them? Maybe,
yeah,
but maybe not. It depends what kind of business you're in.
Karen, did you have other suitors?
Loads. Yeah, loads. Well, part of the process, I just want to go back though, and just, to William's point, I think, I say this all the time, particularly to high school kids, right? Like, you got to do what you love. If you don't love the business, you can never pull this off, right? Like, if I hadn't spent 21 years of blood, sweat, and tears, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't love what I was doing. And that's why I'm so excited about the next chapter, because I love it. I think that's the biggest advice to anyone. Rather than getting ready for a sale, just make sure you think your business is great. But yeah, we had loads of like dozens and dozens and dozens of pitches, basically, that the investment bankers lined up with companies who were interested in. Because at the beginning, we were exploring sort of 4 options for how do we get engineering in-house at blank. And one was, I was started with, we get investment money and we build it ourselves. We get investment money and we buy us, an engineering firm, a small one that we can then take in-house and grow. We one of the options was to not get money, but have a really close partnership with an engineering firm that we would just go to market with. And then the fourth option was really the investment bankers presented this to us, which, hey, there's a lot of engineering firms who have the opposite problem, and they are bigger and they can just buy you. And so we started exploring that option, and not just engineering firms. Then they brought to the table, ad agencies, all kinds of digital agencies, the gamut, and big global companies. It was pretty awesome to see that they all want to be in our space.
Walk us through how you found this investment banking firm. I mean, that's a trick in itself.
Yeah, it was, it's all relationals. Kelly had met one of the principals at this firm, Clearsight Advisors. The firm we hired last time didn't serve us very well. And so this time we were way better at interviewing them, at knowing what we cared about. And mostly, honestly, we just liked them. And if we're going to work together really closely for what turned out to be 8 months, like every day, several times a day, talking to them, we had to really like them and trust them. And so that was the biggest thing.
Tell us about how you handled the suitors. Did you end up with a bidding war?
Yeah, that's the whole strategy. So this is where we just let these bankers do their job. And we were just like, why are we talking to that company? And they're like, well, it's going to help us get leverage. And, so there was some of that going on for sure. I mean, it's a business, these guys, that this is what they do for a living, is they want to make sure that, ultimately it's our choice, but they want to make sure that we are positioned the best way possible in this market of who's going to snatch us up. Their job is just to set us up so that we have all the choices we want. They did due diligence on us at first to create a big deck that they could present to these companies. And so they know how to do that. They pitched us, and then Kelly and I got in there, and then we had, pitched the company in like multiple 2 and 3 hour long meetings. They were really, really intensive. But, it was worth it, because in the end, what mattered to us is that we wanted to keep Blink alive and be able to grow this thing and keep doing what we're doing and keep serving our clients and be able to employ all of our employees. And a lot of these companies, their model is take us and kind of spread us around inside the company. And so, that was really not interesting to us. That's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to be able to provide engineering, keep our core the same. And so, this just ended up being a match made in heaven. And it was very unlikely. Like, I didn't think being bought by a big engineering firm was the way we were going to go. I thought it would be more like, bring it in-house and, find someone who would invest in us to take some risk off the table. But I didn't expect it would go like this. It was exhausting what those guys put us through, the bankers, and they'll tell you like 3, sometimes 6 hours of pitching a day over the course of a 2-week period when we were in that phase. And by the end, I couldn't even talk. My voice was totally raw. But we just trusted them that they did all the negotiating for us. In the end, we were negotiating the finer points, but in terms of the big broad swaths, they did all that for us.
I think this is the case, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm sure companies get people coming to them saying, we want to buy you. And I think the advice is you really need to have an investment banking firm, because you're not going to get the best deal if you do it that way. You need to go through what you went through to get the best deal. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. And like I said, it was exhausting, but not only the best deal financially, but just in terms of the terms, right? Like so many pages and pages and like, oh my God, the legal documents and the back and forth, and then also have a law firm that you love. So we've had a law firm that we've been working with for probably a decade now. And they went through this last thing with us, and they were telling us like, you guys, this is a bad deal. You got to walk away. And so now they were so proud of us that they're like, God, we were with you guys through all that, and we're so happy that we got to this point. But they had our back the whole way through. So the bankers and the lawyers, worth every single penny, hands down.
Karen, did you do due diligence on emphasis?
Well, a little bit. We asked them a lot of questions in our interviews, but we don't get into their books. But that's Clearsight. Our advisor's job is to make sure that these guys, they have the money, they have they're financially stable, they are exactly what they say they are. They do all that beforehand so that they don't bring us anybody who doesn't pass those tests. So, but we did lots of interviews with them, in terms of talking to them. Like, for me, equity, inclusion, DEI is really important. So I asked them a lot of questions about that. We had, a lot of good conversations about just, what they believe in and what they stand for.
One of the critical pieces of this is you got 70% of your cash out of it, which is great. That's smart because you never know what's going to happen. You just don't. So, but it's not like you took 40%. That wouldn't have been a great thing. You got enough out of it up front that, well, I'm sure things will go well. But if not, you came out great either way. And I think that's an important piece.
It's true.
William, I don't know if you can answer this. You've talked to us recently about the amount of time that you've taken away from the business and how you increase that every year. It sounds a little bit like you're trying to make yourself kind of operationally irrelevant. Is that with the idea that you might want to sell your business someday?
No. I think the idea for me, I got some advice a long time ago. It said, wise younger leaders spend their early years creating options for their later years. And so me moving back away from operational relevance at our company, which I love that phrase, is more of a, when I get to, I've probably got 10, 12, maybe 15 years of relevance left before I'm the old guy that needs to go find something else to do. When we get to that point, I want to have every option available to me.
Wait, how old will you be then? When I get that age in 12 years, how old will you be in 12 years?
I'm 51.
So you'll be 63. I'm 65, so I'm wondering, what does that mean?
You're irrelevant. That's what it means.
I'm irrelevant.
Point proven, right?
Wow.
So,
yeah.
I just know.
That's terrible.
Hey, listen. We have a succession practice. The vast majority of the time when people call us for succession, they're calling us later than everyone else on the board wanted them to call us. Most people stay too long. So I don't want to be that guy. And I want to have every option in front of me. If that's hire a CEO and just be chairman of the board and have the owner's income, great. If it's sell the company to employees, awesome. If, whatever the option. And if I am critical to the success or failure of the business, then I have eliminated options. So that's the thing, Lauren. There's no, here's what we're going to do. It's just, wouldn't it be cool if when it is time for me to step aside, we had every option available? So
you don't want to be some old loser 65-year-old on Lauren's podcast is what you're saying.
There are people that are 65 and 75 and 85 that are still killing it. I just know the overwhelming number of people that we manage succession for stay a little longer than they're aware.
You know what? I can tell you in what you do, you're dealing with people that are in professions, they're in the clergy. I could totally see that whereas if you own a company and you take yourself out, as I have to where no one's calling me all day, I really am only working on the company. That's where the difference between owning a company and having a profession is. I can see what you're saying with somebody who's in the clergy. It's got to wear you out after a while, just like being a dentist or a lawyer or anything else. But if you own a company, and you've got people around you taking care of stuff, I think you could work to 80-something and not necessarily have a problem. That's my theory, at least.
I know they say retirement is bad for your health. Sanjay Gupta says that, and I believe him. It's good for your brain to keep working. Maybe it's a different job, though.
Karen, do you have an employment contract for a specific period of time?
5-year non-compete.
Do you expect to stay for those 5 years?
I'm going to stay till the day I die.
Wow.
Seriously, what else am I going to do? And besides, retirement is dangerous, they say.
Well, there are other options besides retirement.
No, but I love it.
You could start a podcast.
If I do anything, that's funny because I'm like, you guys, you can lock me up for 20 years if you want. I'm never doing this again. You don't have to worry. And I said, the only thing, if I was to go start another business, it would be goat farming. I really want to have, rent goats.
That makes perfect sense.
You could use my goats for a day and they'll eat your blackberries.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Jay, now you're showing your age. You rent the goat to do yoga.
I have seen that. Okay. But do they do yoga all day long? They don't cut the grass in the morning and then do yoga in the afternoon?
Maybe you could get a bivocational goat.
Okay.
There's your business, Karen.
Wow.
I just have one last question for you, Karen, which is, entrepreneurs talk all the time. I mean, I can't imagine how many times I've been told, I wasn't a good employee. I realized I had to go do my own thing. I don't take orders well. Are you at all concerned about now being an employee?
No, I can't wait for somebody to tell me what to do.
write that down too. I'm going to put that in my folder of the year from now. I can't wait to have someone tell me what to do.
Oh my God. You mean I can just go to work? And that'd be amazing. But no, I mean, they don't want me to do that. They need me to keep running the company, right? Like, who else is going to do it? They don't know how to do it.
No, I have to tell you sincerely, this really sounds like a great thing for you, and I don't think you're going to have any problems, and good for you. It sounds like you found the perfect situation for you, for your company, for your employees, and hats off to you. There aren't that many people to pull that off.
21 hats off to you.
Yes, very big congrats. Very big congrats.
Thank you. It's pretty surreal. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm like, whoa.
My thanks to Jay Goltz and William Vanderbloemen, and especially to Karen Clark Call. Karen, thanks for taking us through all this.
Yeah, thank you.
And here it is, your Marketing Minute with Steve Krull of Be Found Online. Here's today's question, Steve. What is account-based marketing, and why should I care?
Account-based marketing. It's not the newest trend anymore. It's a few years old now, but account-based marketing is not just identifying maybe industries that you want to serve or companies you want to serve. It's getting down to company plus human. Who are the job titles and who are the names behind those job titles? So account-based marketing is building out that list in such a way that is going to give you highly specific targeting data to have conversations with your clients. Now, it's changed a little bit because traditional account-based marketing means I send things in the mail. And in this weird COVID environment we live in, most people aren't going to give up their home address if they're still working from home, and packages will pile up at the offices. So think twice before you do the full-blown account-based marketing, and think about digital account-based marketing, because you can achieve a lot of the same results if you still think about your customers that way. And if you want, go back to the Marketing Minute and blog post about the personas and augmenting those personas with some key questions. That'll be an accelerator for your account-based marketing.
If you want more details, look for Steve's Marketing Minute blog post at 21hats.com. Wait, don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN @21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. He can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.